US is absolutely overrated for e-commerce. Like, just launch your business in any other market and you'll probably do better in the short term.
Well, I'm pretty happy with Colin on this one. He was able to grab a legend, the power from down under, Davie Fogarty. Welcome to the show. How are you, my friend?
I'm going very well. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's actually one, the beauty of the internet, how we can connect. I'm pretty sure this is definitely the farthest. I think I had someone in the Middle East, but this is way farther than the Middle East. So this is definitely the furthest we've done. You have fantastic internet connection, which is great. But we have an inversion. I'm over here melting in Austin, and you're freezing in Australia.
Yeah, it's crazy how that works. I'm actually flying over to Oregon on Monday, and it's a very big trek. It's a big trek, but very well worth it.
Do you go east or west, or do you just keep going west around? Because Oregon's closer that way, right?
We go west generally.
Yeah.
We fly LA,
into LA.
Yeah, and then it's like I think it's a 20. Like my last flight to Oregon was 26 hours all up, but it was 4 connecting flights, and it was pretty full on. But
man, that's brutal.
I enjoyed traveling. It's good to you get some reading done. It's good fun.
Do you have any tips? I just went to Barcelona and I got wrecked by jet lag. It was weird though because I had went to Dubai and Israel, and those were more like 12 hours ahead. Didn't throw me off that much, but Barca was like 7 hours ahead. The city goes late. It literally took me like 5-6 days just to get my feet under me there. I usually don't get paddled too much with that, but how are you doing it with your? I mean, those are massive shifts.
Yeah, it's obviously easier when you're up front a little bit and able to sleep. But Barca's, crazy difference because they kind of nap through the day, don't they? And it's just like the whole thing is just thrown out. But yeah, look, I don't try not to drink on the plane. I feel like that helps a big time, and just trying to eat healthy and try to time your sleeping as well.
Do you spring for the fancy seats? See, that's the one thing I did when I flew to Dubai. I got like the little fancy seat and had my you sleep, and it's amazing. I got the reggae seats going to Barcelona this time, and it wrecked me. I think that's money well spent, right?
Yeah, look, that really does help because you actually get a good night's sleep. I didn't realize that most businesses, when they get to a certain size, switches to a cashback card. So I ended up racking up like 95 million Amex points that I've just got sitting there that I just don't know how to spend. So I kind of, it should all be cashed. It was a pretty bad move on my part, but we were running pretty quickly last couple of years, and I just kind of missed that step.
That's amazing. What's the biggest point purchase you've made?
Oh, I literally don't even know. It's
just travel.
Yeah, just travel. When you don't get the rewards flights, it does cost a fair bit to book a business class flights return, especially from so far away.
And you fly out of Adelaide, or you fly to? Because that's a pretty big one, right? It's Adelaide, Sydney, Melbourne.
Adelaide's down south. It's kind of like the little brother of everything. There's not much going on, and compared to Sydney and Melbourne. So generally international flights, you'll have to fly into Sydney or Melbourne and then catch a proper flight from there.
So how did you take on the internet and being is there a big entrepreneurship community there? Or, I mean, I would think it'd come out of Sydney or Melbourne, right? Because those are proper business communities, yeah? Or
yeah, look, it's definitely the culture in Melbourne is far more like the US entrepreneurial, those espressos and whatnot working at coffee shop. But Adelaide probably is underrated. It was only until I started businesses that I realized that there's actually some really successful e-commerce businesses. Wildlife, Riderwear, these guys like kind of gym brands, and they're doing an amazing job as well. So we've got a very small community that helps with obviously finding talent as well. In Melbourne, it's much more competitive for talent, but we have an office both in Adelaide and Melbourne to try to, there's definitely a different kind of skill set maybe a more technical skill set in Melbourne. Not to say that we haven't found amazing technical people in Adelaide, but it is really interesting how those two different cultures kind of manifest different types of talent.
That is interesting. Have you been in Australia your whole life, or have you lived anywhere else? Because you're fairly young, right? You're 25, going on 26?
27, getting old.
27. Oh man, I need to. What's going on? My assistant's giving me this terrible brief. What's going on here?
I just lie on Wikipedia. Just to look younger. No, not really. Yeah, I'm 27. I lived in Melbourne for a year. Just that's where I learned e-commerce. I'm sure we'll get into that soon. And then I missed my family and friends and stuff too much, so I ended up coming back and probably will be an Adelaide boy for the rest of my life. To be honest, it's such a simple place to live, cheap place to live. You can get anywhere in 20 minutes. Good beaches. So what more could you want?
There you go. Bish bash bosh. I love it. So yeah, talk to us a little bit about the entrepreneurship. I was doing some research on you. You're upwards of 10, 12 companies you founded so far. You had some weird little tie up in a Vietnamese bread roll shop. You had a seasoning business, an iPhone case brand. You did some personal training at one point. Like, how did you get in all this? Where did it start? Was it like a family thing? Was it just I watched the internet video and now I'm going to do this? Or like, give us some background.
Yeah, you're bringing up some scars there, but let's get into it. Yeah. So I guess going back to school, I don't know where my ambition came from. I think it is a family thing. I think when Grandpa started a small furniture business, a local furniture business, and I was always surrounded by that entrepreneurial side. I think being exposed to that at a very young age is very helpful. I wasn't, I didn't get given everything to me in a very early age, which made me very, very ambitious to get it for myself, which I think was really, really important. And then, yeah, during school, I kind of just, there's an embarrassing video of me going on stage in year 12 when I graduate saying that I wanted to be a billionaire when everyone else was like, they want to do like this in university and stuff like that. So I honestly couldn't even remember that, but I think it just reminds me that, I have been like this for a very long time. Ended up trying university, mining engineering, also tried marketing as well, failed both of those, which is ironic. And after that, all in that time, I was actually growth hacking Instagram. So we're just using like a shout for shout method, growing niche pages, and I was selling them off and selling promotion on that. I think that's actually quite a common thing. I'm not sure if any of your other guests have actually been involved in the stages of Instagram, but it was addictive. It taught us a lot of skills. It taught us a lot about the algorithms underneath these platforms. It's either that or gaming, right?
Yep.
And then so basically after that, I went to I started. I was like, did what any entrepreneur did and should do, and used all my profits to launch a Vietnamese roll shop, and that did not go well. Selling $5 rolls that cost $4.50 to make. It was not a good business model.
What was it called?
It was called Street Rolls.
That's not horrible. That's not terrible.
Yeah, it's not horrible. But the logo was like, I just used a logo generator.
Yeah.
It was so bad. I got some photos. But yeah, I was there 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, just cooking pork rolls and lost my mind a little bit, but all the same time I was doing Instagrams. Granted, there's been people out there that were growing the Instagrams at the same time as me that their company's over $50 million value now. Realistically, that was my probably opportunity to achieve something big, but I did the wrong thing. I wasn't measured about it. I wasn't structured about it. There was a lot of doubt at that stage where, and this is a good lesson around surrounding yourself with people that understand, or at least exposing yourself to people that understand. My only exposure was, my parents and a couple of, older entrepreneurs that just didn't really understand the internet, and they're great at business in their field, but they basically said, look, this is a fad. Like, how are you even going to tax it? Like,
Yeah.
what is going on? And back then, there was a lot of uncertainty around it, so it's easy to look back at what's happened. But yeah, so um, out of fear, I sold, and I've almost sold so many of my businesses out of fear just before they take off, and that one I actually did. So yeah, a couple of lessons there as well. Ended up going to Melbourne for a year, running influencers and running a consulting side of things for a couple of other brands, and then ended up launching calming blankets, Woody, pup naps, and a couple of other brands as well.
How did you find the time to do you have like a little framework or something that you run in your head? Like because when I start to think of business, I'm like the old people that you're talking about, like, oh, Davey, this is going to not work. This is what's not going to work, blah, blah. And so my head always goes to like, how do you see where the market, like where you see the product market fit, or what product that you're thinking, what's the business model you want to use, what's your go to market, how are you going to distribute all this stuff? Like, is that in your head, or is it just intuitive where like people just want a big fucking blanket to wear and I'm going to print money with it? Or like, because like, right? Like, how do you come to these things? It's incredible. Like, because you have multiple, you have a bazillion. So is there like a method to the madness, or you just kind of happenstance?
Look, I would love to say that was a method to the madness back in the day, but it wasn't. It was just like, it must somewhat intuition. But the good news is, like, we got very lucky. Like, I'm not going to pretend that we didn't. If I didn't apply a framework to that thinking, then a lot of it should be designated to luck. I think I think the beauty was, and I hit three winners in a row. Calming blankets was doing over 20 million. Udi, does over 150 million. And then pup naps, in its 7th month was doing $1 million a month sales. So it grew very quickly. And that was the three I started with. And in hindsight, this was wrong thinking, but I was just like, oh, this is easy. And the truth is, it's not easy. We all know that now. Like, I think there was lots of things that I underappreciated. Obviously, well, this was pre-COVID, all of those launches, but the industry was definitely easier in finding these products. But the beauty of my point was that by finding, 3 winners or 4 winners, I was able to create a framework, which I now use. So there was that positive, and then and then I hit a lot of losers. I've hit a lot of bad products after that. It was probably like 3 or 4 in a row, and now we're hitting winners again. I really just kind of took all those learnings and I actually just built it into a tool. It's called Trend Rocker. It's like a piece of SaaS. It's kind of it's very similar to it kind of combines the best features of a lot of the spy tools out there, but then it also integrates with like supply chain, because one of my main lessons, which is part of the framework, is really around fragmentation of marketing competitors. So I don't think people really appreciate the effect that one digitally savvy competitor can have on your CPMs and your CAC when they enter your market on Facebook. Like, if I break down all 3 of my successful products at the start, there was literally no competitors running that product in the regions that I was doing it. So and that's very, very hard to find, because you need to be very early. Right. There's a good TED talk that talks about the key fundamentals of what makes a good startup, and is it funding, is it people, is it talent? No, it's actually just timing most of the time. So I think that applies very much so in the digital landscape as well. So that's really what I'm trying to incorporate. How do you understand trends at a global level, understand the digital landscape, incorporate supply chain so you can understand gross margin and ensure you have the room to market and grow. And then, it becomes subjective. What is the total addressable market? Is this a $100 million company, or is this a $5 million niche company that's good for a first timer? Those are the kind of questions that will probably always be ambiguous until tested.
I love that, man. What's this called again? I'm gonna have to sign up. This is
Trend Rocket. It's still really new. We only went live last month. But yeah, check it out. Let me know what you think. where I'm really excited because I really do think we can systemize finding massive trends. Obviously, the one of the key things when I'm talking about being unique and in a market is so critical. It is really important to differentiate the product as well,
Yeah.
because that's essentially what's going to create that room to grow, and that opportunity to get into different in front of different customers as well. So there'll always be that need to customize these things we're finding, but at least we're kind of arming people with data before they invest lots of money in the product.
Yeah. And in a weird way too, it's like you're giving them a more clarity on how to place their bets, which I think a lot of people like. I'm dealing with some stuff right now where like unknown unknowns are such a thing. It sounds cheesy and cliche, but like not knowing what you don't know is so painful sometimes because like, man, there's some weird stuff that can crop out of nowhere. You're like, what? That's even a thing? And depending on your cash flow, depending on your cash position, run rate, something like that, you can, the rug can get pulled out from under you pretty quickly. That's really cool, man. I love that. Um, by all accounts, you're super happy, super motivated, you're super jacked. How do you stay focused? How do you fit everything in? This is something I'm super struggling with. Where early stage startup is not a great life for a relationship or your health or anything like that. It's kind of like this crying toddler that is constantly vying for your attention, your money, your time, like everything. So how do you balance it so well?
Yeah, I think there's a few things to break down there. I guess the health side of things. It's obviously about uh, you know I think it all comes down to your why and what you're trying to achieve. I think the as soon as you can do that, and if it is take triple L or something to 100 million, 200 million, a billion, I don't know, you realize that the fitness piece fits in very well with that, because you're not going to be able to do it unless raise a fit, and you've got to schedule that in, and just get a bit of routine around it. The relationship side of things, it's about, if that is your primary objective. I don't want to sound cold hearted or anything like that, but you probably don't have time for relationships that don't support that. Granted, you the truth is, you family and that kind of balance falls into family and friends does fall into the fitness side of things, which is you need that support to remain happy and not lose your mind. Like when I was doing street rolls, 2 years of just 12-hour days, I barely talked to anyone. I was just there and grinding it out, and got severely anxious and
Yep.
depressed and stuff like that. So, this is about making time for that balance as well. And I think this is all about knowing yourself, which is a very, very hard thing to do. I think you know your thresholds, and what you require from these various buckets of your life, and it's you don't need to overdo it, and you can try to be very, very mindful about it. Mine would look very different to other people. um I definitely see friends on the weekend, and I train twice a day, to try to keep that balance. Wake up super early, and find your kind of rhythm there. I do time
Yeah.
blocking as well. I think that's really, really important. Time blocking for tasks. If you are struggling, I think one of the best hires you can ever make is an
Yep.
executive assistant. Like, it's so important. They really do support you. Yeah, there's a couple of tips, but when you love what you do, I don't think you go through waves, right? Like, and I don't think I've always been like I don't think I've always been the best at this. It's I just recently did a episode with Toby Pierce and Simon Beard. There, I'm not sure if you know them. Toby Pierce just exited Sweat for over 400 million. They sold the business for. Uh, Simon Beard owns Culture
Yep.
Kings. They exited for 300 million Australian businesses, and they told me their routines and their discipline around learning and getting up, and like for 3 weeks after, I was just on fire. So it is really about getting that exposure to those other people, so that you can learn from them and be inspired by them and try to embody them in the areas that you want to embody them. It's not everything. You don't need to look up to them for everything. Take different role models in different situations, take different traits. But yeah, surround yourself with those good people.
That's all. That's amazing. Big fans of Culture Kings and Sweat, but Culture Kings in specific. Big sneakerhead over here. That's really amazing. So you work out in the morning and the end. That's how you kind of bookmark your day, or how do you fit everything in?
Yeah, yeah. Generally, so I get up at 4. I generally take it's a bit hard when it's completely
Yeah.
pitch black at the moment in Australia. Take the dog for a pretty long walk, and then at night do generally just a weight sesh as well. But like if I miss that for 3 days in a row because I'm working, which I do, like it is what it is, right? Like you're not going to grow by skipping those 3 days, but chances are if you hit it on the fourth day, you're not gonna lose anything, and you can get back into it. So I think a lot of this stuff is about being gentle on yourself. Like people listening to this or seeing like what I've done or seeing what any of your guests have done because they're all so accomplished, they go like, and I've fallen into this trap. They look at themselves and they go,
Yep.
why can't I do this? Why aren't I training twice a day? It's just like, go gentle on yourself. Like you're either not there or you don't need it. Like you're not there yet. You might get there and you can work towards it. You can look at your sleep, look at your diet, look at your habits and traits and whatnot, and try to fix it if you think about it. But in the meantime, just don't beat yourself up. You'll get there. Focus on the main things that matter as well.
That's brilliant. That's really good advice because I've found that in a little bit in myself, and also kind of just high operators, where people are just trying to always do their best, and you can get caught in this kind of downward cycle of like you beat up on yourself too much, where it's like shit happens, it is what it is, move on, one foot in front of the other, and then just kind of keep going. Because the number one thing that I meet throughout all successful people is perseverance, where it's like people have this almost like unfathomable faith that I'm going to get there. I don't know how, I don't know when, but I'm just going to keep marching, and that can help you through some of those tougher times, because there's always something. Usually, man, the universe does not give up easy, but once you can find, I think, your why, like you said, you can bear kind of almost anyhow type of stuff.
Yeah, there's a narrative fallacy around these podcasts and stuff because you're only getting such a small snippet. Like you don't hear like the full. People fall down, and it's only until you can really build rapport. Like this is the first time we've spoke, but I talk to mentors that are absolutely mind blowing, and in all accounts, you'd think these people never sleep. But the truth is, when you actually get rapport, you're like, what's your darkest moments? And they don't get out of bed
Yeah.
for 3 weeks because they've made so many mistakes. It's like even Jeff Bezos in the early years would just make so many stupid mistakes. So beware of the narrative fallacy. It's just part of growing up and learning.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful, man. I think there's just um, amazing. Okay, one last question, and we'll get to the value add segment. What's the nicest thing someone's done for you?
Hmm. Well, I got two. I think my parents were super supportive when I was dropping out of university. They didn't quite get it, but I just did it anyway and supported it. And I mentioned dark times at Street Rolls, and they lifted me through that. Same with my partner as well. She really really looked after me in those times. So these are the people that they don't care if you're successful, right? It's just they are here to be with you and support you and just enjoy life with you. Sorry, not necessarily support, but take the bad moments and enjoy them as well, because they will come up. So both of those people, I guess.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. Davey, I'm all pumped up now. I need to go read some business memoirs while I'm doing my CrossFit workout. I'm ready, baby. I'm fucking ready. Let's do this. All right. This is why the people bought the ticket, the value add segment. Let's talk a little bit about Udi. That's probably your biggest company to date. Why did you start it? Why is it called that? What are the best parts? What are the hardest parts of running it?
Yeah. So it's just hoodie without the H. That's why it's called it. It's nothing genius. So I created that just randomly. I was just like late at night when I was pretty young, obviously. Um, the the hardest part about running your business is always going to depend on what stage of business you're at. Like initial 0 to 1 million, you're just trying to get your first customer, your first profitable customer. 1 million to probably 5 million, you're trying to, you know, repeat and create a sustainable flywheel around that existing customer acquisition channel. So one channel, one product, and then getting up to the 10 million mark, you're looking at more, how can you remove yourself from the day to day in certain areas, and therefore get more efficiency through hiring people. So you're basically building a flywheel there, and then things get relatively unique. You're obviously juggling cash flow, probably up to 10 million as well. That's kind of your main challenge and opportunity. By the way, I didn't create this stuff. This is just adapted from the book Ready, Fire, Aim, which is a great book. And then where there's a huge death trap for e-commerce is around that 10 million mark, which can be achieved relatively quickly nowadays. I'm not saying that to be demeaning to people that haven't achieved that, but if you do hit the right product at the right time, it's that Facebook will probably get you there, to be completely honest, with a complementary channel like Google and email. And but the tricky part is when all the Amazon sellers start coming in, all of the eBay sellers start coming in. There's a ton of who asked for it brands that start coming in and eating into your market. So
I've never heard that.
I think I heard that at Geek Out, so
that's good.
I'm not claiming that one either. I think Eli said that. I'm not sure. I think at that point, you're going to have to rely on your product differentiation, and I think and your skills in content and building a brand, because brand is non-linear. It's going to allow you to really surpass that, and that's where Udi we succeeded. Granted, we've got one of the ugliest looking websites out there, but it just converts like crazy. So the beauty, which was somewhat unintentional, was the product was so good that it created the brand, and the pattern was so unique that it protected the brand, because people couldn't copy our patterns. They could obviously put a pizza thing, but they couldn't put our pizza on the product. So it then created virality because it was just so strong. So people were like, this is so good. People were sharing Snapchats of themselves at home, like all of that kind of stuff, which really fueled we had somewhat of a viral growth engine through that. And then, when we were doing over 100 million, things got very, very complicated, and it became very structural. The main challenge at that stage for me, not for all founders, but I have heard Ben Francis talk about this when with his business, was I made the same mistake, just not thinking about finance and operations as like a key function of the business, and somewhat just focusing on product and marketing, which as soon as we lost, so I think we did like 20 million or something like that in November last year across all of our geos, but we actually forecasted that we would have done 45 million, and we just had no stock. So we were completely sold out for our last 2 Black Fridays in those northern hemisphere regions, and that is all because we just kind of ignored operations and didn't have the right ops team. So ended up finding a really good retail based COO. So when I say retail, she was managing stores here and big kind of chains as well, like in conglomerates of brands. So they have all of the merchandise experience. They can manage spreadsheets like crazy. They just have a really good eye for forecasting, which is really important. Can somewhat predict the future in that regard. And people that come from these kind of legacy businesses, they're just beasts, right? Like to last that long in that kind of environment, they really bring a level of maturity to our young e-commerce team. So I think that's something that I was missing. I was still hiring really young people in that situation, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's part of our culture, and we all work really, really hard. But she really did turn the business around. and replace the entire ops team, and then we ended up doing the same with the finance team, and now it's humming along really, really nicely. And so now our channel is now our main challenge has changed to there's something called the Ansoff matrix. If you viewers want to look it up, and it talks about how to achieve diversification. So you've got product diversification or market diversification as well, and I like to think of market diversification as channel diversification as well. So really trying to mitigate the effects of these big changes by diversifying our acquisition methods. And I don't think that that's entirely achievable with our core product range at this stage. So really looking at our core product range, and we're also looking at a more sustainable business model, like evergreen cyclical products like pajamas and stuff like that are always be in trend, but it's just about the pattern and the block, and trying to understand if that can be a $200 million business in itself. I'm not sure if you're familiar. There's a big PJ brand in Australia that really does capture that comfort wear segment very, very well. There's not a global comfort wear brand, to be completely honest. I don't. There's a couple of lounge brands that focus there, but comfort wear I can see as a different segment, really bringing moments of happiness and joy through comfort, feeling safe, and those feelings. I think that we can kind of encompass that through the Uddy and our product development. So I'm not sure if that was a big ramble of nothing, but
no, that was super fascinating. What was the matrix called again?
It's called the Ansoff matrix. It's
Ansoff,
yeah.
Amazing. Sure. I've never heard that. I'm learning so much. I need a note taker on this. I have to go back and rewatch it. That's fantastic. That is fascinating to see, though, because we felt that firsthand as well. And it's a little different. We're B2B SaaS, you're D2C, but there's this unique feeling of almost like basically those benchmarks that you're talking about, or milestones, if you will, where there's different people needed, because almost at the beginning, almost everybody's a generalist, where you need to be able to wear 78 different hats. And then as you scale up, you get into these kind of more specialized roles. But then there's also a certain aspect, to your point, of like, it's not all about just bringing in money or acquisition. It's about profitable acquisition, and then matching that demand with your supply, and then understanding, can you get more favorable terms? There's all this kind of like boring stuff, quote unquote, like that operators, and you don't run into them until you hit those kind of economics of scale, where if you're only, a $2 million a year run rate business, you're not going to go push, manufacturers around. But if you're $250 million a year business, you can start to really make moves. You get into some cash conversion stuff that is, again, kind of boring if you're into like the product, the feeling, the marketing and stuff like that. But absolutely requisite to hit those different step changes, because you just keep hitting up against a wall. I feel like, for some reason, I used to work within that $10 to $50 million a year run rate businesses, and that $10 million does feel like that weird inflection point of like, you either have to grow up or be happy with the business at that rate, right?
Yeah, 100%. It's generally that ceiling main channel, because like Facebook, the reason why we all spend there the most is because that's the most efficient channel. We're not married to Facebook. We don't really care, to be completely honest. It's where we're going to get the best return for our buck. So that's generally that ceiling. I think in terms of your previous statement, I think it's all about the questions you're asking yourself, and again, it comes down to the people you're surrounding yourself with, and there's I think Naval created this. It's your information diet. If you're in 40, ad buyer Facebook groups, and you're just looking at, like just Twitter, and you just follow marketers, you're just going to obsess over the marketing questions and optimize things to a T there. But if you go into LinkedIn and follow a bunch of supply chain experts and like finance experts, and just digest everything that they're posting, you're going to start asking different questions. So beware of your information diet. I think I can see a couple of inflection points around like the knowledge that I had, and both of them sit around, something like Geek Out, or I haven't been to Affiliate World, but I hear it's pretty good as well. And like it might come from the speakers, but it might just come from a little tip that you learn from
Yep.
everyone else. I think, if you learn one thing at one of those trips, it's worth doing. So in the early stages, I would go to literally every single one and just try to talk to everyone.
Yeah, I found that is actually the biggest changes for me as well was being able to rub up against people with different perspectives that have done it. And then you have this actionable insight that then you can not only if you can't integrate it, reference it to lead you down a path of, to your point. I love how you put that, where you start asking better questions, more precise questions, more impactful questions that can then, start to have 5, 6, 10 points of lift on the business versus this 0.2% because you change the button color from this green to that green, where it's like, not that there's not a place for that, but at the end of the day, especially as the CEO or the founder, even as CMO, I see myself as a capital allocator, right? To your point, like we buy ads on certain channels because they're effective. If I could buy billboard ads and get, X amount of signups for Y amount of CAC, I'd buy billboard ads. I have no dogma in terms of how my spend is deployed, but I love that, Davey. That's really, really awesome. If you were to start a company tomorrow, what would be the first social network you would start building? Because you're pretty prolific across all of them almost. I mean, your Instagram is a little not in the league as your YouTube and TikTok, but your YouTube and TikToks it's proper scale there.
So what's the question?
What would you, if you started a company tomorrow, say Udi 2.0 or whatever it is, product agnostic, what social network would you start building it at?
Yeah, it's a good question. Like I think we answered it before. Where the best return on investment for,
Yep.
and you've got to test that. Like it might be TikTok organic at the moment. I didn't think that that's sustainable. That'll go away. Like it always has in
That's
history.
fair.
But
Yeah.
if it's better to pay creators or spend your whole day filming content, then do that. I think that by learning paid though, especially as a beginner, you're going to have a skill set that's going to make you look at the life differently.
Yeah.
And I think that there's businesses out there that hire investment bankers to come and run their media buy, like because it is capital deployment, it is business 101, and as a founder, as a CMO, as anyone, you're going to need to learn that. So
Yeah.
I really do like that, but at the same time, the creativity angle really is a different side of your brain, and
Yep.
really it will hold you in good stead. So maybe you do both, and they both obviously lend itself. So TikTok and Facebook at this stage. In terms of my Instagram, yeah, I don't really post there that much because I've got a lot of friends on there, and it's kind of just like they don't want to see that shit. So, go away, like just post your own stuff. No, they don't actually say that, but yeah, I just post a bit less frequently then. YouTube obviously goes well. We put a fair bit of effort into that to try to help young entrepreneurs.
Yeah, it's a great channel. If you guys aren't subscribed, smash that subscribe button. What gives you more gray hair? I mean, obviously you don't have any gray hair. You have a lovely head of hair. Go check out his Instagram. Pup naps or Udi?
Udi, the bigger, more money, more problems.
Yeah. Amazing. Let me see what else. So in the next 2 to 3 years, how do you see like e-commerce, D2C unfolding?
It's a good question. Like, I hope Shopify doesn't start bullying people. Like, I'm the biggest advocate of Shopify. I think they're incredible. I would hate to see them just start price gouging and start doing that stuff. We've seen that happen with Apple when they just have platform dominance. I think that if they can execute on what they're trying to do with the fulfillment centers and getting that delivery time down to rival Amazon, it's going to be very, very good. I think US is absolutely overrated for e-commerce. Like, just launch your business in any other market and you'll probably do better in the short term. For first-time founders, granted, if you're racing, if you've got a completely revolutionary idea, US is probably gonna work work better, but most ideas, in fact, all ideas are just iterations on previous ideas. So, yeah, make sure you're unique. So I think all of these other countries, Australia, UK, Canada, maybe the UAE, like Brazil might be kind of further away, but I think that there's going to be some great opportunities there. I think Europe, there's a lot of countries in Europe that you can kind of take advantage, arbitrage the traffic.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm excited about the opportunities within e-commerce. However, I do believe the business model is inherently flawed. And I think we need to stop thinking of it as e-commerce and direct to consumer. Like there's one brand that I've talked to this year, actually there's a couple, but just trying to be dramatic. There's like one person that I've talked to that doing solid numbers, and they're going to grow. And they're not a new business, and they're going to grow versus their COVID years, which is everyone's up against tough times at the moment. To get any growth is good growth in any regards this year, to be completely honest.
Yep.
But he's going to grow, and the reason why is he is in every single major US retailer, and he's running a ton of TV ads for his very unique product that he's got 1 billion patents on. So it's really a different kind of game that he's playing than a lot of other people are playing that are selling commoditized products.
Right.
Formulations of similar products like skincare. That stuff's going to be tough. All of those kind of business models that have existed, unless you can't just rely on direct to consumer. I think you really need to build distribution elsewhere, whether that is through channels like Amazon e-retailers, but also wholesale as well. I think is important. So yeah, I think that'll adapt as well. I think channels are just going to keep getting worse as well, like way worse. I think privacy, it's only just begun. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a really interesting thesis. I'm on board with that mostly. I think that the privacy wars, Apple will start just I mean, it's just so economically tangible for them that they will do it. Google will then follow suit. It's interesting your thought on the D2C business. I think you might be right there, because when I think about it, almost all the big D2C exits that I can recall were primarily predicated on growth, not actual like big multiples on the top line kind of thing, not actual profitability or anything like that, where I can't think of like a really big D2C exit. And maybe that's why, because you have this inherent ceilings to this one channel where you need to get into wholesale, you need to get into retailers, you need to start opening up this distribution to make kind of this full-fledged peacock of profit versus this fire hose of DTC. Because to your point, if the business model's not there, where it's not some sort of recurring, you're going to get crushed, because you're just going to have to keep acquiring new people. And then eventually, unless you have this crazy unique product, you're going to hit a point of diminishing returns. And then it just gets challenging to really start to scale the volume at a profitable efficiency, right?
100%. I think that like the dream of the exit is the Gymshark exit with General Atlantic. They sold a decent stake, but what is the comp? It's like, is Nike the comp, or is there a different comparison to create that valuation?
Yep.
That is entirely D2C. If they can, if they can overtake Lululemon and stuff, I don't actually know if they already have or not, to be completely honest. I don't follow it closely. But the other one is Native Deodorant. I was listening to
Moist.
a podcast of the founder the other day. Yeah, he's incredible, and their product itself. Like, it was just interesting hearing him talking about, like, as soon as they exited, that's the first time they did PR, and then there was 100. Procter & Gamble, like every single Procter & Gamble brand was probably releasing one straight after that. So you look at that as like, the only reason the only reason there wasn't 1 million competitors is because he wasn't talking about it so much, and his figures, which is a good lesson in itself. So yeah, inherently flawed unless there's a lot of protection. I think it all comes down to that first stage, that product development stage. If you're just looking to create a $10 million business, the truth is you can be less strict about that. But if you want a $1 billion business or something like that, you're gonna have to do something pretty special and not just be a D2C brand.
How fascinating. Yeah, Moise is great. He's actually been on the pod as well, and he has some hilarious stories. Really interesting. And though it kind of goes back to your thesis as well, though, at the beginning, right? Like either have this super innovative product that nobody else is consuming, where you're essentially creating a market for it, or market maker, if you will, and then get the hell out of there with an early exit, or start to build moats around it with some sort of patent or community or something that's really hard to replicate quickly. Like you just can't buy a community, right? Like there's these things that are hard to replicate no matter what the resources you have. And I think those are going to be really important as well to insulate your brand from the who asked for it kind of brands. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. It's amazing.
I think a better business is where there's zero cost of reproduction
Yep.
of the product. So far less, your gross margin is going to be way
SaaS.
better. Yeah, SaaS, literally. That's why I'm getting into it, because it's such a great business. It's such a fun business as well. Like it's so cool.
Yeah.
It's just the power of God beneath your fingertips, making things do lots of things. It's just really cool.
Yeah.
I think I wouldn't sleep on that for other brands as well. I think that there's other angles as well, like creating. I saw Ridge, bought a media company, and I've talked to a couple of other founders that bought Facebook pages and groups that were doing like $4,000 profit when they bought it, and then there's Facebook switch monetization. Now they do like 400,000 profit a month. It's just madness. So there's other angles. I don't know how effective those other pages are at cross-selling products. I think that there needs to be a severe amount of relevance and alignment with the existing audience. But there's cool stuff. There's plenty of cool stuff to do out there. I think that we need to expand our minds as well about how we utilize our capital, because it might not just be about launching dropshipping products.
Totally with you on that. That's where, like, obviously you don't want to see people lose their job or go out of business or et cetera, but that's kind of just one of the challenges of capitalism, is that there's winners and there's losers. And I for one am totally fine with drop shippers kind of going away, where they never see a product. And nothing wrong with arbitraging or anything like that, but at the same time, I like to see the real products win, where there's somebody that they care about it and they're behind it, and there's an actual job to be done, value to be added, versus just basically arbitraging underpriced ad inventory for a really crappy product that people are never going to buy again.
100%. Build something of value.
Yes, exactly. Davie, you made it to the rapid fire. Are you ready?
I'm pumped. Let's do it.
Oh, all right. TikTok, overrated or underrated?
Underrated.
Ooh, I love it. YouTube, overrated, underrated?
Underrated.
Oh, wow. 2 underrateds. Australia, overrated, underrated?
I'm so biased. Like, I don't know. I think it depends what you want. I love it. Obviously, I'll never go anywhere else. But for holidays, I don't know. You tell me.
Where would you go if I were to visit? What would be the Australian tour? How would you do it?
Brisbane. Just head to
That's
Brisbane. Go to the reef. Nah, you could pop down to Sydney. You'd pick one of Sydney or Melbourne, but definitely go to Brisbane. If you wanted to fly all the way over to Perth, they got some of the best beaches in the world, so you can go whale shark diving and stuff. But the reefs up around Brisbane, and it would be hot and perfect for you all year round.
Amazing. You talked about this a little bit earlier, but Shopify, overrated, underrated?
Oh, it's so conflicted. It's so underrated. It is the best. There's so many things that they could do to make it better for us, and I think that they're trying. Their product iteration kind of looks like Triple L. You guys roll out 74 products a week, and they do as well, which is sweet. So I'd like to say underrated at this stage, but there's so many other cool things that they could do to allow us to win.
Let me ask you a quick follow up question. What do you think their biggest opportunity is? Like, if you were Toby, what would you be driving in towards? And then what do you think their biggest vulnerability is?
I think well, previously it was like I was talking to the Shopify team in Australia. I think it was like a year ago. I was like, "There's not even split testing within like ClickFunnels has got split testing. You guys don't," and that was really true because you need to hook up Google Optimize. You might need to get a developer. It's just like this stuff can just increase your revenue by like 20% just by rearranging some things. It's just like nobody has conviction or the ability to do it. Think about the uplift there, but it has to be those apps and the fact that like if they can like apps are great. They obviously have so much incremental gain for our stores as well. But if they can make them faster, better, cheaper for us and more effective to bump our revenue and increase their Shopify payments, like I think that would be really, really good. But yeah, check out split testing, those kind of things. Support with speed up. The 2.0 themes are fantastic. So basically, a lot of this has been solved, and then they're moving fast in that positive direction. The lookalike audience was my second thing that I was just like when I read it, I think it was Moyes again talked about it. I was like, this is where it's at. Like
Yep.
this would be fantastic. And then the final thing is rivaling Amazon.
Yeah.
It's just like I want someone to see the Shopify footer or layout, or the debut thing, or the Shopify checkout, and go, shit, like I can trust this shipping method to be really, really quick. So, yeah, I think that'll really, really help things along. So it's all about customer experience at the end of the day, and aligning their brand with that positive customer experience that Amazon's so renowned for.
That's incredible. The split testing is really interesting. What do you think their biggest vulnerability is? What would keep you up at night if you're running the big Canadian beast?
I think the vulnerability is in there, like is in they do have a moat that the switching cost is incredibly high, and there would be no reason to switch right now, but simple migrations, their URL structures are completely different to someone like BigCommerce and these other guys, so they have it's very, very tough to switch away from them. But if they did things that I mentioned before, if their Shopify payments methods started to go up, it could end up becoming worthwhile to switch. But that being said, I really don't have many complaints about Shopify. As I said, it's definitely a love relationship at this stage. So I think they're doing a great job.
Yeah, no, I echo that completely. The split testing is really interesting. I think the other point too, and they're trying, I mean, that was their biggest acquisition. Obviously, it was, I think, only a couple months ago with Deliver. But I think making the supply chain and kind of distribution easier on people or merchants in specific. And then to your point of trying to reach some sort of at least mental parity of like, okay, I get an Amazon package in 1 or 2 days and a Shopify in 3 or 4, or just something where you start to build this customer expectation. But I got to tell you, I love Shop Pay. I think Shop Pay is the best experience. Shop Pay and then Apple Pay on the phone. I think those are just the two just stellar experiences on the interwebs right now. Like, great way to check out.
Isn't Shop Pay 5% transaction fee? Like that's
They'll get you. They'll get you.
I'm like, whoa, like that's crazy stuff. Granted, if it increases conversion rate, but is that like warranted around the transaction costs? Like I don't know. I'm not that technical.
It's a fair play.
But the other opportunity that they do have is Klaviyo. Like going after Klaviyo, they're raising prices as well. By the way, I'm not stingy or anything. Like I'm just trying to. When I talk about this stuff, I really do think about the effect that it has on the ability for businesses that are struggling with cash flow, like me in the early days, and my ability to grow and get return on investment on these challenges, on these channels. Sorry. So yeah, that's generally why you hear a little bit of like frustration if they kept raising prices, and or a little bit of fear probably. I don't think they've gone too far at this point, to be very clear. But yeah, if they could really keep the Shopify email ticking along and invest in that product, that would be really cool. I'd be very down for that.
Yeah, I think that's a really huge opportunity for them because they're almost everybody's biggest line items in their tech stack is Shopify Plus and Klaviyo, right? And so if you can roll that in, or to your point, sometimes Klaviyo can be a cannon to kill a mosquito for some of these people just starting out, and so having to eat that nut right up front versus just fold it into the Shopify payments. Totally, yeah, it's amazing. Croatia, overrated, underrated?
I've only been there once, and it was a big party trip. So I was really drunk the entire time. But yeah,
I saw it on your
I'm gonna say,
Instagram. It looked gorgeous, so I had to ask about it. I've been wanting to go.
yeah, I'm gonna say underrated. It was awesome. It was such a good time.
Amazing. If you could hire anyone, you had a blank check to do an Udi collab with, who would it be?
Ooh, I was trying to get Rebel Wilson. Do you
Ah,
know Rebel Wilson?
no.
Yeah,
Why do I know
yeah.
that?
She's Aussie. She's hilarious. She's such a funny.
Oh, I do know her. Yeah. That'd be great.
She's so good. But like it is really around the brand direction. Like she encompasses our brand, like lighthearted, fun, like warm and whatnot. I think that, I think there's a comparison to be made with Crocs as a business model to Udi. Like they're a beast.
Great
That
business.
business is
Great business.
underestimated. But they did Balenciaga collabs and stuff like that, and really tried to get their product worn out dealers, which I think is pretty sick as well. So we've got some big things lined up in that area in collabs. But
The Gucci Udi collab, I'm totally in. I've been trying to get the North Face. They did Gucci to collab with North Face as well as Adidas, and it's amazing. That would be hilarious. You're right. I like that a lot. I know you're pretty healthy, but favorite meal and why? What's your favorite meal?
So I actually just eat Uber Eats every single day just to save time. Like for 3-4 meals a day, just Uber Eats. So like whether that's healthy or not, like I understand the macros that I need. Granted, I do miss home cooked meals, but it's just a time saving thing. So I'm not fussy. Just pizza's good. Subway's good. It's all good.
Amazing. Simple man, simple pleasures. I love it. I know you have one dog, two dogs, one dog.
One dog. He's actually downstairs because I know that he was just gonna be jumping.
Yeah.
I was trying to.
Is his name Sherlock Bones, or is that just a hashtag?
Sherlock.
That's the most. That's amazing. So
He's not smart though. He's not smart. It didn't work. He's gonna be intelligent.
well, because he's a golden, right? Retriever. Yeah. They're supposed to be really smart. Is that your favorite type of dog, or what's your favorite type of dog?
Honestly, I didn't really. I wasn't obsessed with that breed before I got him. But I got him, and now can't imagine myself getting another dog. Maybe a Bernese Mountain.
Oh, those are cool.
But if you want more happiness in your life, get a golden retriever. You'll be sweet.
I love it. What's your favorite YouTube channel?
Alex Hormozi by
What a
far.
G, right?
The guy is a beast. Yeah. Like that way that he synthesizes and can communicate complex subjects. Like I've tried, and honestly, doing that kind of stuff is incredible, and it shows deep understanding and learnt lessons that he's applied that understanding to. And yeah, if you guys haven't checked him out, like he'll change your perspective on a lot of things. So every lunch break, I don't watch TV before 7:30 at night, just like because it's made me do so many other things. But I'll just watch his YouTube and just learn like every lunch and after work and stuff like that. It's crazy.
He's fantastic. He's also intoxicating. Like he's just a super fun guy, right? Like you'd love to have charismatic and just like what a great. His wife's starting to pop off a little bit as well. But yeah, Alex is a G, man. Very, very great stuff. I love he paid all that money to the what's his name, the real estate guy, Grant Cardone, and he just slaps the video on YouTube. What a gangster! I love Alex. Favorite place to travel to and why?
Oh, I'm gonna go somewhere. Oh, nah, Switzerland's pretty cool.
Bern or?
It's pretty cool. Yeah. I can't even remember where I went. to be honest. But yeah, no, I think it was there. It's just like I like trips where you can find a lot of peace, and I think like serenity really allows that peace. I love going to like Bali and stuff like that, and Croatia. There's a lot of hustle going on there, and it is harder to find. New York's a great example. So getting in touch with nature is a little great, and I love Oregon as well. We've got a business in Oregon, and I can't wait to go back. So
Pacific Northwest is gorgeous, especially if you don't mind the cold. It's gorgeous. It's one of the more beautiful. All right, last question, and you'll make it through the rapid fire. If you could have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, there's a 4-person table, you're sitting at the head of it, who's getting the 3 invites?
Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Warren Buffett.
Wow, what an enterprising table. That was a quick answer too, Davey. You're on it. Amazing.
They're beasts. Or maybe Michael Jordan, just because he's a boss. I don't know. Give me 4.
Give you extra. We can put an extra seat for MJ, of course. Davey, you made it. The podcast done and dusted, baby. Incredible. You got to show off your incredible knowledge, your awesome Iron Man helmet. What is that? Koala, a parrot? Is that an avocado as well? I mean, you got it all back there.
We've got it all, mate. That was awesome. Thank you so much for having me, mate. It's a huge honor. I'm a big fan of Triple Wow. You guys are crushing it. You're gonna make a lot of lives easier, e-commerce lives easier. So I appreciate you.
Oh, amazing. Davey, tell people how they can follow you. Where do they subscribe? How can they get an Udi? This time is yours, my friend.
Yeah, YouTube or Twitter, Davie Fogarty, Davie Fogarty. Let me know if you need any help. Happy to reply.
Amazing. Grab an Udi at, what's the URL? Just Udi.com?
TheUdi.com if it's Australia. You'll get redirected to subdomains if you're in US.
Amazing. And then if you have a puppy, pupnaps.com or what's the?
Pupnaps.com. That's the one.
Let's go, kids. Let's go. Dave, you're the best. We got to get you out to Austin. We'll do another podcast in person. It'll be a good time.
That'd be awesome.
It's not too bad. Yeah, next time you come stateside, we'll just bring you back over, and then you can just hit the east.
Sounds good.
It'll be great.
Sounds good.
Davey, thanks so much again for your time. Dave Fogarty, everyone. Appreciate you. If you want to get more involved in Triple Whale, we are at Triple Whale on the Bird app, triplewhale.com for the website to sign up for a demo or just start printing money today. And then what else we got? Oh, Whale Mail. Newsletter goes out every Tuesday, Thursday. Be sure to subscribe there. Davey, appreciate you, my man. Awesome answers. I have some work to do. I'm going to go get my 2-a-days on with my Alex Hermosi streaming in the background. Appreciate you, brother. That's another You're Not Your ROAS in the books, folks. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you on the flip.